Tapatio Springs, just outside the town of Boerne, Texas, had suffered through an extended drought like most of the surrounding Texas hill country. In the fall of 2014, however, the area began receiving a more regular incidence of rain, and this continued into 2015. In January, water appeared across the low water crossing to the resort for the first time in at least 5 years. The continuing rains gradually raised the flow of Frederick Creek and the pond levels throughout the golf course. This in turn caused the water level to increase at the low water crossing. However, golf carts and vehicles would still continue to cross through it.
Okay, it's May 15th, 2015. We had a lot of rain today, but about 3 hours ago the sun came out and it cleared up. And this is the entrance to Tapatio Springs.
By the time May 23rd arrived, we had received 6 days of rain in May, totaling 7.5 inches.
The water is just now beginning to really flood over the pond back here and across the low water crossing from the number 8 tee box. But it's rising rapidly and there's going to be some machinery out here. I'm afraid it's going to be flooded before long.
It had rained off and on during most of the day, and the entire golf course began to feel the effects. Beginning late in the afternoon, the rain increased significantly, and Frederick Creek began overflowing its banks throughout the whole golf resort. By the end of the day, over 8 inches of rain would fall.
Right here behind the little tree is what was our little lake. It's been dry all summer. Now it's all the way down to cover the tee box.
The water is beginning to get higher and higher, and you can see that it's coming up very quickly. The stream is already way out of its banks, beginning to come up our driveway. It appears that the traffic cannot get across the low water crossing up there by this back time. There, that's just past the flag out there. That's a pond where the tee boxes are for number 17 and number 8. And the water is still rising almost over the top of the tee box where the white tees are on number 8. Oh my, the water has come up. It's almost to the garage now. You see the water is starting to go into our garage from this side, so we're going to have to go downstairs now and see what we can do to salvage something. But I'm afraid it's going to be a bad night.
At around 6 o'clock, a local resident made a decision that almost resulted in tragic consequences. As he tried to leave the resort by driving across the low water crossing, which appeared to him to be about a foot deep, he was hit by a big surge of water, causing his Jeep SUV to stall and the engine died. The Jeep was turned by the force of the water and hung up on a rock ledge for a brief period.
Oh my God, oh my God!
He unbuckled his seatbelt and rolled down the window, but the water level was now at the top of the door. On the bank, less than 20 feet away, Resort staff and guests gathered and shouted encouragement and looked for solutions, but they couldn't get to him.
Oh my God, oh my God.
Fall out. Get out of your window. Come on.
I hope he opened his window already.
Come on, get out that window.
After several minutes, the car started moving. Then it rolled on its side as it tumbled down the stream.
Oh, here we
When
go,
the
here we
cabin
go, here we
filled with
go.
water, the driver pulled himself through the driver's side window and kicked himself away from the vehicle.
Fuck.
He was out of sight of the onlookers in just a few seconds.
Oh my God, oh my God.
He was pushed downstream by the furious flow of the water, breathing equal amounts of air and water. Later, he would describe this as like being in a washing machine or blender.
Oh my God, oh my God.
On the banks, at least 4 members of the resort staff ran downstream. Along the way, they passed the SUV, now upside down and lodged against a tree some 200 yards downstream. The water became calmer as it emptied into a lake adjacent to the resort, several hundred yards further. When they reached that area, they couldn't believe what they were seeing. There, floating on his back, was the driver, alive and seemingly uninjured. It was a very emotional event for the members of the staff who shared laughs and tears with the driver as they pulled him to safety. As for the driver, his only injuries were hundreds of fire ant bites.
Employees. You can see all kinds of debris washing by, something big and white out there going across. There comes a big log that's coming down, half submerged, but you can see it going by. There goes a barrel by. The emergency vehicles are down there stopping traffic now, and they were going on down and trying to see if they could find the car that was washed away or the people that was in it. Don't know anything else at this time.
That's a highway patrolman and a fireman across the street.
The morning brought an amazing discovery. The top row of 5 limestone stones, each weighing thousands of pounds, were gone, swept downstream by the raging water.
It is Sunday morning, and you can see the debris and some of the workers out, but
The skies were clear as work began on the massive damage cleanup.
They got the Bobcat started, so I guess now they're going to go out and... This is the guy. 17th green. Just a little bit of damage here. And look at the size of this log that was washed up. And part of the...
Okay, this is the day before Memorial Day, Sunday. After the storm.
The course maintenance crew was assisted by a crew that had been working on sand traps, and their heavy equipment allowed them to clean up the tons of debris and repair the damage to the greens and sand traps over the next 2 weeks. The course reopened on June the 5th. Once again, we have experienced a Tapatio comeback. The tremendous amount of rain received in a short time over the resort, as well as over a large part of the hill country, resulted in catastrophic damages to many areas, none so great as to the town of Wimberley, which saw several deaths due to the raging flood. Our hearts go out to the families affected by these events.